Welcome, Color of Success podcast family. I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie J. Wong. Check out my memoir, Cancel the Filter, Realities of a Psychologist, Podcaster, and Working Mother of Color, where I share my experiences in the realm of mental health, both professionally and personally. Color of Success podcast is streaming on all your favorite platforms and socials. Whether you're on the go or comfy on the sofa, you can tune in at your own comfort. As you know, we love growing discussions with our guests from our AAPI and ethnic minority communities. With so many friends and experts from different aspects of life, we love learning their stories and understanding what their success means to them. Let's get into it. Peggy Lu is a professional actor fluent in Mandarin Chinese who can be seen as the incomparable Mrs. Chen, owner of a convenience store in the Venom trilogy from Sony Pictures, with its third installment, Venom, The Last Dance, coming October 25th, 2024 to theaters near you. Peggy, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I can't wait to dive into Venom and your background, so thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, let's jump right into it. You credit your immigrant parents for being hardworking and paving the way for you to get a doctorate and be a famous actress. So tell me a little bit more about what that means to you and how they really contributed to your dreams.
Well, first of all, they brought the entire family over here, and that's such a hard question. I'm getting emotional because as every immigrant, we work. Growing up watching your parents work so hard, and I grew up in Taiwan, so my parents were considered like very wealthy, and my dad was in the military, and he was so he already spoke English, and then and so when we came over here, we were so poor that we could have been on food stamps. Of course, like the Asian thing of, we don't need any help. So both of my parents had two jobs. And so basically my brothers raised me while my parents were working. So, and then because and just seeing that, the stress, even just like there's not even stress, I guess, because you're so young, you don't even know what's going on. And then all you see is your parents working and you think that's what life is.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's,
Well,
I don't even know if I'm answering your question.
No, thank you for being vulnerable with me. I mean, this is what the show is about, right? Like, it's very uncharacteristic to be interviewed probably by a psychologist on this press circuit. So I really appreciate you sharing that, because I think that's the story that needs to come out for a lot of diverse individuals, is how they got here, right? And so it really does play into what they're bringing to the table, their experiences. So
But I do think like what my parents did that was also a little different was my dad. It was so important for my dad, because one of the reasons we moved here was because for education. Because where I'm from, the free education stops at high school, and then you have to take this big entrance exam to get into colleges, no junior colleges, and then of course you got to be number one, to get into any type of college. And then I started having a tutor when I was in like kindergarten to learn.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
to prepare for college. Yeah.
That's how much faith my parents had in me. Like to learn the multiplication, addition, subtraction, and I guess when which I think like looking back, I think it's so funny. I think they came here because they didn't think I could make it. They didn't think I could make it into college. I would not pass the entrance exam, and so they came here for the better education, so we could be all educated. Both of my brothers, we all have doctoral degrees. That was a requirement, like I never thought of I didn't even think I had a choice. Not even like choice is not even the right word. It was just expected.
That was the standard. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the standard. The standard, the norm. That was the norm. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how your interests started to intersect, though, because I mean, obviously, you got a doctorate in pharmacy. You worked with a very difficult population, I would say, in terms of, hospice pharmacy, that it takes a special person to do that. And then you also have this dream of acting. And so, how did that come about? Because one wouldn't think, oh, pharmacist to acting.
Well, when I was pre-pharmacy in sophomore, and I met a girl in college, and then she was telling me, and she was like a gorgeous blonde, and then I met her in the cafeteria, and then she was telling me that her major was theater, and I said, well, what is that? She's, and she had to explain to me what it was. I go, oh my gosh, that sounds so fun. And at that point, I was pre-med, like
Hmm.
typical. I was
Yes.
pre-med. Yeah, I was pre-med. And then I thought I want to be a dentist, and I thought I want to be OBGYN. How great would it be to bring that life into earth? And but then it was my mother, who guided me during sophomore, because of course, as soon as I heard that, I called my mom. I go, hey, guess what? I'm gonna change my major. And then they freaked out.
Yeah.
They had a meltdown. And then they said, uh-uh. They said, you have to finish. Um, at that time, like I said, I was pre-med. I go, you got to finish medical school. You don't have to practice medicine. You have to pass your board, and then you can do whatever you want. And when they gave me that choice, I go, okay, that's what I did. And then my mom stepped up, and then she said, okay, go be a pharmacist. You could have a career and still have a family, do everything you want to do because it's more flexible. And there's always a shortage of pharmacists because it's so stressful. Nobody stays in this profession very long. And then when I said I'm going to be a dentist, and then you know what she said? She says, well, you're going to be looking down all the time. Your neck, it's going to bother your neck. You won't? Yeah. She has an explanation for everything. And I said, what about OBGYN? And then she said, oh, well, you're going to be on call, and then you have to get up at 3 a.m. What about your family? And then everything she said makes so much sense. I go, oh, okay. And so that's how I wound up in pharmacy, because everything else was rejected by my mom.
Yeah. I mean, she didn't steer you wrong, but I definitely think that culturally that's kind of the aspect. It's like that catch 22 of like, wait, I did everything that you said. And then now what their explanations for a lot of things. So,
Yeah, but it makes
yeah.
sense. It
Hmm.
makes so much
It's
sense.
hard to argue with, right?
Exactly. And I go, God, why did I not think of it? That's because, can you imagine looking down? Yeah, I can't. Yeah.
Well, other than that, I think it's hard to also stare at open mouths, and she probably saved you during, as the COVID pandemic broke out, where people
I
had to,
know. I know.
do
Yeah,
that.
they are
So,
so ahead. Like my mom is so ahead of everything. And when we first moved here, my dad would stay up like till 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning to make sure that we were learning our English.
mm,
And it was so important to him that people will not be able to tell the color of my skin on the phone. That
mm.
was the standard. And yeah, I don't know if he achieved that standard, but that was his standard.
But I think like it just shows the dedication, right? And so, what did you take away from that experience to apply it to being an actress?
You can't give up. You just keep going. You just watching my parents, what they went through from having everything to having nothing. And they just kept going. And then I hear them, fight about money, and the
Hmm.
stress I put on their marriage, where they were able to just like a boat on the water, just keep floating along. And then eventually the smooth water does come. But you have to stay on the boat. You can't jump off the boat. You just have to stay on and then figure and re-strategize and just keep evolving. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and then also I had a great acting coach in New York. She said, you have to be like water. Water is the only element that could change its shape based on its environment. It
Mm,
could be a triangle, it could be a square, it could be anything you want it to be, and it's still water. And that just really,
that's amazing.
yeah, it just put a lot of things. into perspective. I don't even know why I'm having it. Like,
Uh,
because no one
I
has
yeah,
asked
I
me
have
that
that. I
question
had the
before.
effect on people.
Yeah, you do. You do. I thought this is
Um,
gonna be so much fun and easy. I go, oh,
yeah. Well, that's part of the coping strategies, right? And I think that's something it sounds like that you brought into your experiences in acting. And so, especially given the times right now, we are seeing more and more Asian Americans, API folks on the screen. And so, how did you kind of ride the wave, so to speak, to go on with this coping strategy to be able to be one of those people that people can look up to and on screen, because it is it is daunting to possibly have that rejection.
girl, I get rejected every day. After a while, you just go, oh, okay.
How have you coped with rejection?
Girl, do I look like I'm coping?
So
Look
you
at
just
my
take it. Well, you
hair.
you process it, and I think the authenticity comes through of, it is what it is, and I'm gonna just feel what I feel. And honestly, I encourage people to do that because it's when people avoid those emotions that they come out in all different ways that they're like, well, why am I crying right now? But it is a difficult process, and you keep going and learn resilience.
That's true, because I think also another thing is when you move to a different country at such a young age, the rejection happens immediately.
Mhm.
So it has been building up. And, like first you don't know, first you don't realize you're being rejected until then once you realize, oh, the society is rejecting me, and then you try, and then you go through the phase, you're trying to please everybody, and then that doesn't go anywhere. And so that was my process. So like I tried to fit in. I tried out for cheerleader. It took me twice to get on. And then once I got on, there was a petition trying to get me off.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah, but I grew up in the South. So
Hmm.
so then that was like my biggest first rejection. And the reason they put it was because they said my chest was too flat. And I kicked off at one varsity cheerleader that's been a cheerleader all her life. So I get, no, at the time I didn't get it. I go, oh, I was just so hurt. And then I would cry. And I think my coping mechanism was through crying. Every time I get rejected, I have a good cry and then I sleep it off. And then the next thing is my brain just kind of clears it out.
Hmm.
But I do cry a lot. And then, of course, my mom has a reason for that. She says the reason I cry a lot is because when she was pregnant, my dad was in America. And so she was alone. And that's what, and she cried a lot during her pregnancy of me. So she said that's why I cry a lot.
Well, you can't argue with her. That's her experience. Again.
I know, but then it makes so much sense
Yeah,
because I do
exactly.
I'm very sensitive. Every little thing I go, oh, and and that's how she explained it to me. I go, oh, well, thank you, mom.
So, one of the great things about your performance in the Venoms is that you're able to embody Venom. You're able to use profanity, which, that's a woman of my heart. So, what was it like to film those scenes, work with Tom Hardy, and channel some of your experiences into that?
Well, I have to thank Tom Hardy for that. He's very cool about everything. And I think in in every scene that you do, it's your partner. It's about if your partner makes you feel safe, then you're safe. Then you feel like you could just be yourself,
Hmm.
as gross as it could be. And I mean not gross as truth, your true core. You could allow yourself to be free. And he was so easy because if he says shit, then I could say shit. And, if you could say the F word, then I'm just like following his lead. And then so it started off like that immediately. So it just put me at I'm gonna be okay. And he has been so great. And he's very funny too. He's very funny.
I mean, it comes out in the movie, right? Is that,
Yeah.
and what's great, what I loved about it is because your stimulus value is different from Tom Hardy's, right? And then when
Yeah.
you see both of you play off of each other, like that's the great dynamic there. And so, what are you most excited about showcasing in Venom: The Last Dance?
Girl, I'm actually really nervous. It's so I'm so nervous. I thanks to Sony and the director and Tom, believe that they think I could dance. So you could see a little clips of me
Yes.
dancing. I know, so
You
like,
look gorgeous. What? Like, it's amazing.
but I'm not a dancer, girl. So the critical part of me is I'm gonna cringe. I'm gonna go, oh my gosh, I forgot to point my toes. My arm's supposed to be straight. You know, little things that's making me very anxious. And what am I excited about? That. Did I
It's
point
like
my toes?
you're gonna puke, but then you're excited, and
Yeah, it's all different emotions. And but I had the greatest choreographer, Jennifer White. Like, she did Barbie, and she was so patient with me. And we would go over, you know, every little movement and make sure that, because pointing my toes is not a natural thing for me. And so she helped a lot. And I don't know, you're gonna have to tell me.
well, I think, well, I'll definitely watch, for sure. And,
Yeah.
I really, really love like the authenticity though, because like also reflecting on that point of, did you ever think that you would, or even your mom would see you on screen dancing? And I'm like, well, they need to call Peggy for the next Dancing with the Stars, because then you'll be able to use your skills. But, I just reflect on your story and being able to get to that point to say, I'm a little nervous about showcasing my dancing. And at the same time, it's like, I don't know if you ever thought in your
Never.
wildest dreams that you would be doing that.
Never. When I read the script, I go, are you sure you want me to do this? Are you really, really sure? And also, I think having their support also helps. If they think I could do it, well, hell yeah, I could do it. And I think that also helped. But my mom is going, well, did you point your toes like you were supposed to?
She never gives up. I mean, that's like her characteristics. And I think that is really embodied though in the way that you approach life. And so it's really great to see. So where can folks learn more about your work, follow you, and when does the movie premiere and all that good marketing stuff?
Hey. I'm on Instagram as AKA Peggy Lu. And the movie comes out on October 25th, which is around the corner. So I'm having palpitations right now.
I think it is so amazing though that you're able to put yourself out there, and this interview is a little bit different, like I said, and I think it's very, very amazing to showcase that though. And I really appreciate you opening up to me, because you're so authentic. I could feel it through the screen. I wish we were sitting, next to each other, but that authenticity is something that you can't mimic or,
Thank you. Don't make me cry again. Yeah. Thanks to my mom of her crying during her pregnancy. Anyway, okay.
Well, thank you so much for spending time with me.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening. We would love for you to subscribe to the podcast and join our community on all our socials at colorsuccesspodcast.com. Looking forward to you checking out my memoir, Cancel the Filter: Realities of a Psychologist, Podcaster, and Working Mother of Color, on Amazon and wherever books are sold. I'd love to hear your Cancel the Filter moments.